The Radeon HD 6850 was a mid-range offering released all the way back in 2010, and it was part of the final series from AMD based on the Terascale architecture. With the last drivers released all the way back in 2016, that doesn't really provide much hope for modern gaming. Adding to that the fact that the card doesn't have any form of DirectX 12 or Vulkan support, and obviously, only having 1 GB of VRAM certainly doesn't help out. Therefore, someone could be wondering what can this even run in 2023? Well, let's go ahead with the benchmarks and see what this once popular DirectX 11 GPU can offer performance-wise. First up on the benchmark list are the esports titles, starting off with a relatively new one, and the 6850 really shines here, offering excellent average figures at pretty decent settings, getting even better FPS than the GTX 550 which I tested recently. The 6850 provides 20 to 30 FPS more compared to the 550 Ti, which actually is a newer card and sells for a very similar price to the 6850. Not bad at all for a 12-year-old GPU. Similarly to Overwatch 2, CSGO does run great on the 6850, even on one of the more demanding maps. For example, the 550 Ti struggles to deliver even 60 FPS on this map, maybe because it was more like an entry-level GPU, but nevertheless, they are priced almost the same, so the 6850 seems like a better deal here. It does happen that MSI Afterburner refuses to work with games like these, and that's quite often the case with Valorant. Despite that, there is an FPS counter in-game, so we can get an idea of the average figures. And throughout the test, the 6850 provided over 100 FPS most of the time, which needless to say is excellent, and not really a huge surprise knowing that Valorant isn't really that demanding for any GPU. Finishing off the esports segment is PUBG, where once again, I can't really measure the average figures, but there's the Steam FPS counter in the upper left corner, which doesn't really drop below 40 that much, mostly staying above that number. Once again to mention, the similarly priced 550 Ti didn't really hit 30 FPS at the same settings. So you get the idea here, Nvidia cards can be a bit overpriced on the used market. Moving on to AAA releases, a combination of very old drivers and a small VRAM buffer isn't really helpful in days gone. At the absolute lowest settings selected, it was actually surprising that the game even started. Not to mention the almost 25 FPS on average the 6850 offered. Still, I wouldn't really call this even a close to enjoyable experience, neither graphics-wise or on the performance side of things. I wasn't really that hyped for the Mafia remake, and therefore, disappointment when it didn't run well wasn't big. I believe that the 6850 just lacks the power needed to run this game, and of course, the drivers from 2016 don't really help, but it would be crazy to think that a mid-range card from 2010 could run one of the most demanding games of 2020. On the other hand, I had my hopes a bit higher when it comes to the remastered version of GTA San Andreas, but once again, the 6850 shows that it's useless for modern-day AAA gaming. And these aren't really the newest games in the AAA market, as some of the newest games won't even start, but that's something you need to expect with the 6850 nowadays. As you know, the 6850 can be a good option for older AAA titles, as seen here with 2013's Tomb Raider, where the card offers excellent performance on a great level of visual quality. There isn't that much left to be said about this card. Everything was already said in the benchmarks. It's a decent card for these lightweight esports titles. But nothing more than that. Modern day AAA releases are just too much for the card to handle. For the price of only $20, which I paid for it, it isn't terrible and certainly usable at least for esports gaming. But in my opinion, a card for the R7-200 series like the R7-260 would be a much better option, as I have seen some of these going for just about $30, and I believe it's really worth the price difference. Regarding the 6850, it was a nice card back in the day. Nowadays, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Therefore, it's just better to leave this one in the past. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for some more reviews in the near future.